All right. In any event, let's go ahead and start digging in and taking a look at our different selectors here. So we're going to start off talking about the different ways that we can find items based on their structure. We'll then roll on into these things called pseudo classes and pseudo elements, which allow us to find items based on their type or rather based on what's happening, what they're doing. And then we'll close it all off with a little section on sizing, and in particular focused in on font sizing rather than maybe sizing boxes and things like that, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But first, let's start talking about our document structure. And I'm actually going to sort of sidestep for a little bit. I'm going to go slightly off center here. And what I want to do is I want to take a look at my little sample page here that I've created, and it's very ugly right now, and that's sort of by design, because what I want to do is gussy this up a little bit over the next handful of demos and kind of make this look the way that we want it to look. And by the way, if you're curious, there's a great little website, Bacon Ipsum, that's a lorem ipsum generator that uses all sorts of different meat products. You've got all of that there. There's all sorts of other ones out there. There's like a hipster Ipsum. There's a vegetarian Ipsum. So there's all sorts of different Ipsum generators that are out there. This is just the one that I went with. But in any event, very, very, ugly. You'll notice that there is no formatting here, really, with the exception of my my little list up at the top here. And I would also mention, just kind of go in and highlight the HTML here, that what I did was I used HTML5. And for those of you not familiar with HTML5, HTML5, among other things, introduces a lot of semantic tags, where rather than saying this is how I want it to display, because that's the job of CSS, what we're going to do is describe the data that's contained inside of it. So that's our nav section, that's our navigation section. And there's an article, and then inside of my article, I've got two different sections inside of my article. And I really like the collapsible regions here. Kind of makes it a little bit easier to see. So we've got our nav section up top, we've got our article, we've got our article. Okay, now I am going to, and again, I'm doing this for simplicity's sake. And I don't want you to look at this and think, oh, well, he's sort of doing a do as I say, not as I do type thing, because I'm not doing that. I'm just trying to make my demos go a little bit easier. So you are going to notice that I'm not going to create a separate style file here. Should I? 100%. And if I was doing this in production, I would 100% have a separate file for this. But because of the fact that I want the ability to show the HTML and the style very easily, I want the ability to bounce back and forth between the style section and that HTML and be able to make those quick little changes. It's going to be easier for demos if I just put the style here. So don't hate me because I'm putting the style inside the HTML page. I know this is not best practice. This is just going to make the demos easier. Okay. By the way, one little side note. People have asked about this little sidebar over here. This is one of the cool little features inside scroll. There we go. Yeah, so you'll notice under scroll bars here, just type up top scroll bars. So let me just click on that. That over there, you have the ability to set up the bar mode, which is the classic, or you've got map mode, and that gives you that little bar right there. So that way I can go in and mouse over and actually see what's inside of there. And that's a cool little feature inside of 2013. Okay. In any event, let's go back to my little page, and what you're going to notice is right up at the very top, I've got my navigation section. So of course I've got a bunch of anchor tags inside of there, and I want to style those. So maybe I want to make them bold, and maybe I want to take away the underline that's on them. So maybe those are the two things that I want to be able to do to that. Well, that's perfect for navigation, because if I'm looking at a page and I see the navigation section, what am I expecting inside of a navigation section? I'm expecting links. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't need that visual clue of an underline. But if I'm looking at an article, I'm going to need something that's going to be some form of a visual clue. And maybe that's an underline, maybe that's a different font color, or something like that. So long and short is the links that I'm going to have in an article, I probably want to look a little bit different than the ones that I have over here. All right, well, how can I tackle that? Well, one way that I could potentially tackle that, since we know we're not going to be able to just simply say A and apply that to all anchor tags because that's going to apply globally, so we can't do that. One way that I could do this is I could create one class here for my nav section and then another class over here. But you know, that's going to become a little bit of a pain, because I'm going to have to remember to always put that class in again and again and again and again. And when you start talking about things like Bootstrap, I'm going to bring up Bootstrap again, which is very class driven, you're going to find that you've got a little bit of HTML and a ton of class mentions. So if we can do something without having to always add in a class, that's going to make our lives easier. So that way we don't have to remember to always put it into there. We've got a lot less clutter on our page, and we're able to say, based on the document structure, this is how we want something to look. On top of that, if I later move something from one spot to another somewhere on my page, because of the fact that we're using those pseudo elements, those pseudo classes, or the document structure selectors, it's automatically going to pick up that style based on where I put it. So really a better way to do things. So let's start off by taking a look at how we can identify things based on document structure. So let's take a look at a little bit of CSS here. And let's talk about our parent-child and our containers. Now inside of CSS, on the selector, if I say class and class, so nav A, for example, what I'm saying is I'm looking for an anchor tag anywhere inside of that nav element. So I've got a nav element, inside of there's an anchor, and it's only going to apply to an anchor that's inside of a nav bar. If, however, I add in that little angle bracket, and it's subtle, but it makes a huge difference, then the anchor tag must be a direct child of, in this case, nav. I think the best way to do it is to see it.
Yeah.
Let's get in and actually dig into it. Okay. So let me open up my little nav section here, and here's my little style, and I'm going to start off by doing this the incorrect way. And I sort of like starting with the incorrect way, and that way we can see, wait a minute, nothing happened, and then we go back and make it work. So remember that with that little angle bracket, what that's going to mean is it has to be a direct child. And if we take a look at our structure here, what we're going to notice, there's all of our anchor tags. Those are obviously not direct children of nav, because they're all inside of LI, all inside of UL. List item, unordered list. And then nav. So this is not going to work. So if I go in and I say text decoration, none, and I say font, weight, and let's say bold, what you're going to notice is if I do have my browser? There it is. Perfect. Let's go ahead and hit refresh, and you're going to notice no change because that angle. So if I take that away, and now I save and I come back over here and I hit refresh, now you're going to notice everything is bold, and you're also going to notice that all of my underlines are gone. By the way, I'm going to do this real quick as well. I'm just going to globally apply this font family, and let's use a Verdana. I think that's just going to make things a little bit easier. There we go. I think that looks a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of serif fonts on screen, just ever.
Okay, perfect. All right. So this makes you much happier then.
Yes.
Okay.
But I wasn't going to say anything otherwise.
All right. I appreciate that.
We're polite.
And I appreciate that. Okay. So what you're going to notice here is that now my underlines are gone, and now it's bold, again because of that space rather than the angle bracket. So let me just kind of put in the comment here. Space is going to be contained inside of element, And let me just also put in a comment right here, is that the angle bracket indicates a direct parent-child relationship. There we go. And again, we will be sharing all of this out on GitHub. I'll go in and check all of those, and we'll put the links into the chat window, because I know everybody's probably wondering where they can go get all of this. All right, cool. So there's very kind of simple, based on where it happens to be, we want to go in and highlight things. And that's good, and that's perfect for things like this. But you know, let's come back over to our little section over here, and maybe what we want to be able to do on the text is maybe we want to be able to highlight kind of the first letter, or maybe we want to be able to highlight the first paragraph and then use a different font down below and things like that. And fortunately, we can go in and clean all of that up. I am going to do one real quick thing, only just because it's bothering me. Heather's going to talk about this a little bit later, but I am just going to do padding bottom, and let me just do 20 pixels. There we go. That it was really bugging me. I needed a little bit of space there.
No, I get it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.